News coming out today that the FBI is hunting a man that has shot at ICE agents in California, and they are offering a $50,000 reward to anybody that can help them find this individual. Take a look at this. FBI investigating a man who appeared to shoot at agents during a Camarillo immigration raid. ICE agents, you can see this coming out July 11th, 2025 today. And I've got a ton of video footage for you, so we're just going to get right to it so that way you can see what has been unfolding. There's video footage of the actual event and more coming out on these attacks on the ICE agents, and it's pretty shocking. So let's go ahead and take a look at the video footage. This is your first time here and you want to stay up to date on all the breaking news, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button while we're live. It helps spread this out further so more people can get the latest updates. But take a look at what's been unfolding in the last 24 hours regarding these ICE attacks on agents.
We'll start with this Fox News alert. The FBI is offering a big reward for information regarding a protester who appeared to fire a gun at federal agents during a California immigration raid yesterday.
Jackie Heinrich joins us live from the White House. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning to you guys. The FBI is offering $50 grand to anyone who helps them identify and convict a protester who allegedly fired a gun at federal immigration officers. That moment was captured by local news cameras. Federal immigration officers were carrying out a raid with a search warrant at a Southern California marijuana facility. Hundreds of protesters swarmed that area despite warnings from the U.S. attorney, who told them not to interfere or they'd be charged with a federal offense. There were no reports of any injuries, but the video appears to show that man shooting a pistol at law enforcement agents. California Governor Gavin Newsom tried to politicize the moment, posting kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me news scum, but he's the real scum. The CBP Commissioner, Rodney Scott, replied to that, saying, here's some breaking news. 10 juveniles were found at this marijuana facility, all illegal aliens, 8 of them unaccompanied. It's now under investigation for child labor violations. This is Newsom's California. Authorities are sounding the alarm that escalating anti-ICE rhetoric could carry deadly consequences. But California Democratic Senator Alex Padilla is defending his proposal that would mandate ICE wear visible identification and ban them from concealing their faces during most operations, posting to X, in a democracy, no one should have to guess if they're being handcuffed by real law enforcement or armed imposters. My bill defends against unchecked power and unconstitutional overreach. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons tells Fox he doesn't love the masks, but they're necessary right now.
If you looked at the beginning of this administration, you looked even in December, November of last year, we weren't wearing masks. ICE agents weren't wearing masks because they weren't afraid of their information being doxxed, their photos taken, addresses posted. While I'm not a fan of the masks, I think we could do a better, but we need to protect our agents and officers, and I fully support them in that.
DHS says ICE agents have faced a near 700% increase in assaults recently, Griff.
All right, Jackie, thank you very much. And let's just put this in perspective for our viewers. The first 10 days of July have been an absolutely unprecedented assault on federal immigration officers in a way we've never really seen before. As we know, those assaults are up 700%. Let's start on July 1st. Matthew White, an individual in Buffalo, arrested and charged with threatening to kill an ICE officer, writing on social media, "Kill them all. ICE is the new age Gestapo." Get us to July 4th. In Alvarado, Texas, 10 individuals facing first-degree murder charges of a federal immigration officer, while an 11th individual is on the run. A manhunt is out for him, a $25,000 reward, because that attack involved AR-style rifles, body armor, and two-way radios. An officer was shot in the neck, recovering thankfully. You got Monday, July 7th, down in McAllen, Texas, a Border Patrol annex. An individual, a barrage of bullets fired from an AR-style rifle. Border Patrol fortunately able to neutralize that and kill the individual, but raising security concerns at all Texas Border Patrol facilities. July 8th, the next day, Senate Democrats don't read the room on the threats to federal immigration officers, and you have Senator Cory Booker and Alex Padilla dropping legislation to force ICE agents to take their masks off, putting them and their families at greater risk of being doxxed. Same day, 4 arrested in Van Nuys, California, literally putting tire spikes down to disable ICE vehicles because they oppose a lawful federal immigration operation. Also on the same day in San Francisco, you've got protesters violently confronting ICE officials and officers trying to take into custody the criminal illegal aliens that had been marked for deportation, just carrying out the laws Washington passed, but yet they violently are getting in the way. And then, of course, what we've all been watching all morning long out in Camarillo, California, a major raid. Those agents were being pelted with rocks, assaulted, fireworks, and the one individual that appears to fire a handgun at ICE officers. And guys, the part of this story that's just heart-wrenching is that there were 8 unaccompanied minors that had somehow been trafficked into this situation, a total of 10 juveniles, 8 unaccompanied, that were apprehended in this raid out in California.
I mean, this makes me so mad. I don't know how anyone could take in what you just walked us through. And especially looking at, potential labor, what they did with these children, the 8 unaccompanied minors, the 10 children that were found on this marijuana farm, and conclude that law enforcement is the problem,
right?
That ICE is the problem in this country, or ICE agents are hero, as are all law enforcement officers. Just recently, they nabbed an MS-13 kingpin who is wanted for 5 murders in El Salvador, and on its top 100 most wanted list. You had Attorney General Pam Bondi at the end of last month announced that federal authorities had arrested 2,700 Tren de Aragua gang members. I'm sorry, the people who are out there arresting and deporting those people, they are the heroes, not the villains, yet the Democrats see them as the villains, not the heroes.
And Border Czar Tom Homan was with us the last hour, and he talked about those unaccompanied minors found at the weed farm.
It certainly upsets me, and like I said, the work men and women of ICE are doing is incredible. Look, we're looking for over 300,000 missing children. We've already found 10,000. Have you heard that anywhere? No, the media is simply not covering it. And look, this should be a nonpartisan issue. Arresting public safety threats and national security threats, everybody be on the same page on that. Rescuing children, I mean, it should be a nonpartisan issue. Everybody should be in lockstep on that, but they're not. The media's lying. The Democrats they don't want President Trump to be successful. I got news for them. We are being successful. Every illegal alien public safety threat we arrest makes this country safer. Every national security threat we take off the street and deport makes us safer. And we're rescuing thousands of children. The lives saved every day by ICE, the lives saved every day by Border Patrol, are in the hundreds. So it's the only thing I can think of, Griff, if they hate President Trump more than they love their community.
So you're talking about a situation where you have these ICE officials trying to solve a human catastrophe that was entirely caused by Democrat politicians over the past 4 or 5 years. You have an investigation into child slavery, and then you have actual, as you went through, violence being committed against officers who are sworn to uphold the law and enforce the laws, including ICE agents being fired at. And you have Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who many Democrats view as the top person who could potentially run against, get the party's nomination in 2028. Condemning the officers and condemning those trying to enforce the law. That's the situation where, the rest of the country has moved on to trying to enforce the law, but that's where the Democrat Party is stuck.
And you can't underscore the part about where Tom Homan was talking about rescuing these children. Gavin Newsom and all the Democrats need to remember, we can show you back a couple years ago in McAllen, by the way, the same city where we had that attack on the Border Patrol, these children that were trafficked across the border unaccompanied. You can see here, I'm with Texas DPS. That boy was 6 years old with nothing but a little card around his neck with a name and a phone number of someone to contact. He was literally, we found him in the early hours just walking across, terrified. The rescue of the 8 unaccompanied minors in Camarillo, California, these are the most vulnerable individuals that were caught up in a chaos of the Biden administration, and now out there, how many more are out there as ICE tries to carry out
because it's not about the
immigration?
kids, it's about protecting criminals. That's what the Democrat Party is about. I mean, that's exactly what's happening. That's what it's about. It's about protecting criminals. It's about going to El Salvador for people like Gilmore Abrego Garcia and for, shielding Tren de Aragua, not about protecting American citizens.
It's all about them maintaining their power. I'm Steve.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, if you support ICE and you support Donald Trump, you support these raids, you support them going after these individuals that they are saying are dangerous to the United States of America, drop a 47 in the comments for support for the Trump administration. Now, if you don't support this, and I see a couple of people in the comments saying that the immigrants should fight back, and you think that you like the way that the previous administration handled things here in the United States regarding immigration, drop a 46. Let me know your thoughts. 47 for support for the current administration and the way things are being handled right now with immigration. 47 for Donald Trump and support. 46 if you don't support it and you support the previous administration. Let me know your thoughts. And I see in the comments right now, 47's pouring in as people are saying they support Donald Trump, ICE, and the way things are currently being handled. Now, as I mentioned, right now we are hearing that there was an individual that was shooting at ICE agents yesterday in California. FBI investigating a man who appeared to shoot at agents during Camarillo immigration raid. They are now offering a $50,000 reward to anybody that can help bring him in. Let's take a look at this very quickly here, and then I've got more video footage. There is a lot out, so I'm just going to be playing this for you so you can see it. The FBI is investigating a possible shooting that it says took place yesterday during an immigration enforcement operation at a cannabis farm in Camarillo, where hundreds of protesters clashed with federal agents. ABC 7 News captured video of what appears to be a man shooting at federal agents after smoke canisters were fired into a crowd in an attempt to disperse protesters. There were no reports of anyone being wounded. It is also unclear what kind of weapon the person was reportedly holding. Now, the FBI is now offering a $50,000 award for information leading to the conviction of the person who appeared to fire a pistol at federal officers at 2:26 p.m. on Laguna Road between Wood and Las Posas Road. U.S. Attorney Bill Esseley said in a statement on X. So if you'd like to get $50,000 and you happen to have any information on the individual who was shooting at ICE agents, this could be your opportunity. During the operation, a violent agitator fired a gun at our brave officers. Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement, "We will prosecute to the fullest extent of the law that anyone who assaults or doxes federal law enforcement." Federal law enforcement officers arrested nearly 200 people without documentation during Thursday's operations, they said. Now, a pro-Trump X account asked whether Governor Gavin Newsom would condemn the shooting. The governor clapped back, writing, "Of course I condemn any assault on law enforcement, you blank poster." Now, due January 6th, Newsom added, referring to the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol when a mob of Trump supporters attempted to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election, resulting in deaths, injuries, and widespread damage. Trump border czar Tom Homan decried the incident. "I said months ago, it's going to end up with a loss of life," he told Fox News. Thursday's protest erupted after scores of federal agents and National Guard members descended upon a marijuana growing site for Glass House Farm at 645 Laguna Road. Now, agents were executing a search warrant at the farm and arrested several individuals on suspicion of impeding the operation, according to Esseley. 10 minors without documentation were found at the farm during the raid, 8 of whom were unoccupied. U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Rodney Scott said in a statement on X, "The facility is now under investigation for child labor violations," he said. The Ventura County Fire Department was dispatched to the scene at 12:15 p.m. and transported 5 people to the hospital and treated 4 others at the scene, according to the department's spokesperson. During the hours-long demonstration, federal agents deployed tear gas and smoke canisters and fired rubber bullets at protesters. Around 35 miles up the coast of Carpinteria, federal agents raided another Glass House Farms growing site. U.S. Representative Salud Carbajal, Santa Barbara, Democrat, attempted to enter the facility around noon, identifying himself as a Congress member conducting oversight. He was denied access by masked federal agents dressed in camouflage and holding weapons who formed a perimeter around the raid, he said. In light of the later alleged shooting in Camarillo, Carbajal made a prescient statement saying these tactics are creating an incendiary, hostile environment the way they are being deployed, which could lead to regrettably violence in the future. In a statement on X, Glass House Farms said the company was visited by federal agents, fully complied with search warrants, and will provide further updates if necessary. Wow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And again, do you support this? Do you support ICE agents going through and raiding and getting immigrants out of the country that are here illegally? If so, drop those 47s. If not, put a 46 in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Let's take a look at some more video footage so you can see the latest updates.
A Fox News alert. Chaos in California. Federal agents deploying tear gas while protesters hurl rocks during an ICE raid at a marijuana farm allegedly staffed by illegal immigrants. The scene escalating when a protester seen here appears to fire a gun at the feds. The FBI now offering a $50,000 reward for info on the suspect. All of this comes as we await a ruling by a Biden-appointed federal judge who's expected to curb all federal immigration operations in Southern California. Border Czar Tom Homan joining us now. Tom, I watched that video out of Camarillo, California yesterday and was just mortified. What happened there and what is your reaction?
My reaction is the same as been from day one. That, people are welcome to protest. They have their First Amendment rights, but they can't cross that line. They can't impede us from doing our job. That's a felony. They certainly can't put hands on an agent. That's a felony. So what happened in California is just another example of protesters becoming criminals. And they've been emboldened by even members of Congress who compare ICE to Nazis and racists and terrorists. I mean, the rhetoric is so high, and I said 2 months ago, it's going to end up with a loss of life. And we had one the other day in Texas. And it's not over. I mean, the rhetoric has to end. ICE agents are simply enforcing the law that members of Congress enacted, that they wrote, they created, and was signed by the president. If people want to complain about the job ICE is doing, go complain to Congress, because we're enforcing the laws they enacted. We're doing our job.
Hey, Tom, can I just take you back? You just said you had a loss of life in Texas?
Yeah, you had a person attack a Border Patrol facility, firing at the facility, and BORTAC agents.
Right. The individual that assaulted him lost life. Okay, I was just clarifying, making sure you weren't making news there that an agent had lost his life, and that is, of course, the fear. But you talk about those politicians and the rhetoric that clearly seems to be fueling much of this, but you've also got some distortion of the facts. This was a post that California Governor Gavin Newsom put up yesterday. Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum. We later find out there were 10 juveniles in that operation, that were 8 of which were unaccompanied minors. What do you say?
I see this every day, and I said from day one, when President Trump became president, that they're going to vilify the men and women of ICE. They'll vilify the men and women of Border Patrol. They did it during the last administration, except this time, the rhetoric's at an all-time high. Every day I get up and I read the media posts at the White House, and 90% of the stories are just fake. They're lies. So, and people say, well, the polls are kind of turning against Donald Trump a little bit on immigration. First of all, I don't believe it. And if the polls turn it off, because all the fake news out there, they're lying about what the President Trump is doing. They're lying about what the men and women of ICE are doing. And that kind of turns, the tide against us a little bit. But that's why, members of the administration are out there every day setting the facts straight. The fact is, I read in the paper the other day, the majority of people who arrest are not criminals. Wrong. Look at the data. Go to ICE.gov and look at data. But we got some media saying, well, it's just a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. They're not really criminal. Oh, they're not convicted. They're just charged. Oh, they're not criminals. No. We're prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats, and that's a fact.
But Tom, it strikes me unbelievable that the Democrats are not on board. When you look at this raid, there were 10 juveniles that were illegally brought across the border. You and I covered this under the Biden administration. I was down in Texas. We encountered 8, 10-year-old, 12-year-olds coming across with just a name and an address and a phone number on their necks, the cartel ruthlessly sending them across. And yet now we know that 10 of them, 8 of which were unaccompanied minors working illegally in a marijuana farm, and your agents go in and rescue them essentially, and yet there is violent resistance to that. Does that upset you?
It certainly upsets me, and like I said, you know, the work men and women of ICE are doing is incredible. Look, we're looking for over 300,000 missing children. We've already found 10,000. Have you heard that anywhere? No, the media is simply not covering it. And look, this should be a nonpartisan issue. Arresting public safety threats and national security threats, everybody be on the same page on that. Rescuing children, I mean, it should be a nonpartisan issue. Everybody should be in lockstep on that, but they're not. The media is lying. The Democrats they don't want President Trump to be successful. I got news for them. We are being successful. Every illegal alien public safety threat we arrest makes this country safer. Every national security threat we take off the street and deport makes us safer. And we're rescuing thousands of children. The lives saved every day by ICE, the lives saved every day by Border Patrol, you know, are in the hundreds. So it's the only thing I can think of, Griff, if they hate President Trump more than they love their community. They hate President Trump more than they want, you know, safe communities. And there's just no other excuse why this is not, why this has become a partisan issue to take public safety threats off the street.
And before I run out of time, Tom, I've got to get your reaction to this Biden-appointed federal judge out in Los Angeles, apparently expected today to issue a temporary restraining order halting your lawful operations. She says, I think it's important for the court not to burden otherwise lawful law enforcement activities. Your reaction there?
Look, people need to understand, ICE officers and Border Patrol, they don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need this totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the observation, you know, get articulable facts based on their location, their occupation, their physical appearance, their actions. Like a uniformed Border Patrol walks up to them at for instance, a Home Depot. And they got all these articulable facts, plus the person walks away or runs away. You know, agents are trained. What they need to detain somebody temporarily and question them. It's not probable cause, it's reasonable suspicion. We're trained on that. Every agent, every 6 months, get Fourth Amendment training over and over again. These officers are really good at what they do. And if this judge make a decision that's against what these officers are trained, what the law is based upon, then they're going to shut down operation. I think that's their end game. They want ICE to stop doing this. But if they base it on the rule of law, they're going to find out Border Patrol and ICE is doing exactly what they're going to do in accordance with law.
And you're not going to stop coming. Tom Homan, thank you for getting up with us this morning.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Now, if you support Gavin Newsom in this, you saw the back and forth between Trump and Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom saying that there are individuals, there are children that are calling, crying because their parents are being deported from farms. And then he said that Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum. Man, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you support California's Gavin Newsom? If so, put CA for California. Or do you support Donald Trump? If so, put USA in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. But we're hearing those two going back and forth, butting heads. And right now, as I mentioned, $50,000 reward to anybody that has information on the individual that was shooting at the ICE agents in those raids yesterday. Now, we've got more information, and we're hearing that Trump is blocking $40 billion in taxpayer fund programs from illegal immigrants. Man, let me know your thoughts. And again, if you support that, Donald Trump, he is cracking down hard. Put a USA in the comments. But let's take a look at this video footage giving us some more information on this
raid. What really enrages me is that Jackie was reporting with CBP Commissioner Rodney Scott saying that 10 of those arrested were juveniles, all illegal aliens, 8 of which were unaccompanied minors. So the full context here, for 4 years, I stood, it broke our hearts. The agents, the media, everyone that encountered 7, 8, 10-year-olds being sent across the border with a sign around their neck with a phone number and someone to contact, not knowing if those were the real parents, not knowing if it was part of a cartel human smuggling operation, which was vast. And now you're seeing in this specific raid, which was not, as Senator Padilla says, an unchecked power grab. It was a lawful warrant that was being carried out to stop what was happening, illegal aliens employed at this marijuana farm. But now you see that this was actually a rescue. These children were rescued from whatever situation they were in. And yet the fact that Democrats like Gavin Newsom is trying to change the narrative by saying something about children fleeing and running, being torn from their mother, nothing could be further from the truth when you look at the actual facts.
Well, and Griff, to your point, I mean, there's a child labor investigation. So God only knows what these children have been through, yet where are the Democrats on that? Instead, what they are doing is being the party of lawlessness, protecting criminals. And that's what they're doing. Not only did Democrats import millions of illegal aliens, many terrorists, many, gang members as well, like we saw with Trende Aragua in Colorado taking over apartment complexes. So not only did they import a lot of these people, but now they're trying to prevent the deportation of gangbangers, of people who participate in potential child labor, which is this investigation. So that's what the Democratic Party is about. And then to add fuel onto the fire, you've got Democrats like Tim Walz out there calling ICE the Gestapo. You've got Congresswoman Jayapal saying ICE is a terrorist force. You've got a vice mayor of California literally calling on gangs like Florence and the 18th Street Gang to take back their turf. Charlie?
And you wonder why people believe that Democrats are genuinely, it's part of their policy to be in favor of open borders and illegal immigration, including child labor and unaccompanied minors coming over and threatening their lives coming into the country. Well, one of the big draws has always been, in addition to the open borders, our generous welfare system. The Trump administration is now cracking down on taxpayer-funded benefits going to illegal aliens, including at HHS, new restrictions from 13 additional public programs, including Head Start, health, workforce scholarships and loans, mental health and substance abuse support, family planning, and more. Over at the Education Department, they are ending free tuition at post-secondary, career, and technical education programs. This is free tuition that is often not extended to actual U.S. citizens who pay taxes, by the way. At the Department of Agriculture, they're now restricting illegal aliens from getting federally funded food assistance programs. At the Department of Labor, they're barring access to federal workforce development programs and grants. DOJ closing longstanding loopholes that have allowed illegal aliens to access taxpayer-benefited funds. And
God.
Maybe the biggest thing, and perhaps the most important thing that has been a problem for years, are states that give in-state tuition to illegal aliens in their country. The tuition that not only does that give tuition breaks to those as opposed to actual American citizens who maybe live out of state, but it also means that illegal takes up a spot that an American student who might be poor in Boston would like to get a shot at. But because of the Democrat policies, have turned entirely towards benefiting illegals over Americans.
Free education, free health care. I mean, we know the pull and push factors of the Biden crisis and unprecedented numbers coming. What was pulling them is free stuff. It's a major driver, was a major driver. So they are simply trying to cut off the incentive that would encourage people to make the dangerous trek to come illegally. By the way, when you read that, Charlie, other than maybe the Department of Transportation, I think you hit every department in the federal government. And so this clearly was not only a case of a few special incentives that the Biden administration was giving them, it was across the board.
Well, Joe Biden, it was like the Oprah with illegal aliens. You get this free thing, you get this free thing, you get this free thing. And we've also seen in just cities and towns about how mass migration can bankrupt and can cause so many problems. We've seen this in Springfield, Ohio. with all these Haitian migrants going to the city, draining city resources. We've also seen it here in New York City.
Yeah.
You've got a massive budget, a massive city, and you had Eric Adams out there saying, look, we're going to basically go broke. This influx of migrants, they're, taking our resources, and we just can't afford it. So, there's so many problems with this. And also, by the way, Charlie, this was litigated during the last election, and Americans said, we don't want our resources going to people who shouldn't be here in the first.
I'm Steve Ducey.
There you have it, you guys. Man, let me know your thoughts. They're saying that Trump is going to be cutting off that funding going to immigrants. There's all these different programs that are going to illegal immigrants, and they said enough of that. Now, we got some more footage as violence against ICE during cannabis farm raid explodes. This just coming out an hour ago. Let's see if we got some more updates on this. And again, don't forget, if you have any information on the individual that was at that raid that was shooting at police, they are offering $50,000 if you can help capture him.
All right, so David Webb, we were just educated on the facts by William, and the additional facts we saw unfold before our very eyes, which was protesters shooting and attacking federal law enforcement agents.
Well, one, they're not protesters. They're highly organized activists that, whether they're notified by local organizations, whether it's by app or social media, these are set up like a quick response force in different areas. You saw this in MacArthur Park with that. You see this going on. And now you have the complicity and, in fact, the tacit approval of Democrat politicians, whether it's a congressman, the Oxnard mayor, or others who show up to be a part of this. Because this is now the policy of the Democrat Party, which, by the way, they claim to be in favor of protecting children. They're saying people who believe in mutilating children biologically, chemically, and otherwise. But yet, and this is something that really irritates, and frankly, it angers me. I've been working with the Young Marines Youth Organization for about 30 years now. We have the #1 drug demand reduction program in the nation, a model for kids 8 to 18 to live a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. And when you sit and you look at this and the work we do as an organization and that we do at the National Foundation level, this is what we're against. Putting children in a dangerous environment where drugs affect them, it affects their development, it affects their growth. It opens that gateway to other things, not just marijuana. So this is beyond the pale.
Yeah. And Tommy, I was struck by the comments there by protesters. So we're just out here to protect our people. Well, who's protecting the American citizens from those that have been convicted and charged with terrible crimes that we are trying to get out of this country? And the concept of fascism rearing its ugly head is so shocking when this is just enforcement of federal laws, light enforcement per William, right? It was stronger under Obama, but I'm not quite sure why the protection isn't for those innocent victims in these communities.
And not even just the innocent victims in the communities who are legal immigrants or American citizens. Let's just talk about, to your point, David, the children who are apparently being exploited working on a weed farm. Were these children trafficked into this country by coyotes and smugglers? Were these some of the 300,000 that are unaccounted for that the Trump administration, by the way, is working hard to identify and to bring home? We don't know. We need to know. But when you talk about protecting people, how about the people who are being exploited working for serf class labor wages on these marijuana farms and elsewhere? You're protecting these corporations who are hiring illegal alien labor and also suppressing the wages of Americans and legal immigrants. But beyond that, this is where the Democrat Party is now. They are for those who break the law, not for those who enforce it. The men and women who are doing their job. Tom Homan has said it so many times, but it's worth repeating. Congress makes these laws. These men and women are out simply enforcing them and doing their job. And these are the ones that you're targeting. These are the ones you're demonizing, calling the Gestapo, the secret police. They will not stop until we have an ICE or federal agent who is seriously injured or murdered. I hope that they would stop then, but I'm not even sure that that's enough.
Yeah. Jillian, this is taking place just north of where you live in LA. Describe the landscape for us and what the community feels about this other than what we saw here.
Well, to be honest, I no longer live in California for reasons like this. But with that said, I have obviously a lot of friends and family left in California. And I came home last night to a series of text messages with a post from Gavin Newsom positioning this as though these innocent protesters were tear gassed and attacked for no reason on a vegetable farm. No mention of the fact that it was marijuana. Kids were ripped away from their parents. No mention of the fact that there were undocumented, unaccompanied minors there who question, were they trafficked? I was asking the same exact question that Tommy was. And it's the way they're utilizing this to spin it as a tool in the next election. And they're completely denying the facts of what's going on here. It's alarming, to say the least.
And can I ask a quick follow-up? So were those texts that you were getting from your friends and family in California saying this is absurd?
Can you believe what a monster Trump and ICE, can you believe?
They were agreeing with it.
They bought it. So when they saw the post from Newsom, and they're seeing children running through tear gas on a vegetable farm, and this guy's like, did you lose your mom? And of course, it turns out that these people were attacking federal agents, so they retaliated accordingly, and the children there were undocumented and unaccompanied working at a weed farm. But none of those facts were put forward by the left. Quite the opposite.
Right, and these are allegations if they were actually employed there. The reality is it's Newsom's California any way you look at it, because it's the way that he spins it, but it's also the reality under which he governs.
Look, it's Newsom's legacy media, too. I mean, they're complicit in this.
Oh, completely.
We did a deeper dive on this last hour, so I won't reiterate everything that we looked at, but I will just say this one fine point. When you have an echo chamber across legacy networks, not just liberal on cable, but the ones that don't spell anything, the alphabet soup networks, ABC, CBS, NBC. When you have them framing the nomenclature of what we're looking at, they don't call it a riot. They don't call it attacks on feds. They call it things like an action. What the heck is that? An action? I mean, no, it is assault. And you know what the federal government says about it? Interfering with law enforcement officers is illegal and can result in various charges ranging from misdemeanors to felonies, depending on the nature and the severity of the interference. It is not just about physical obstruction. Providing false information or refusing to cooperate with authorities can also be considered obstruction. I think it's pretty clear. So, you know, we will see the switch flip. But Senator Tim Scott told me last hour, his concern is that what happens when some of our guys are hurt, the feds? Do they fight back? And what I pray for is that they continue the restraint that they've used so far, and that we clamp down using the real lawfare against the real criminals and go after them during and after the fact. If you're helping people stop the feds, you're going down legally too.
I know we've got to run, but we cannot ignore what has also recently happened. El Dorado, Texas, an organized ambush. They didn't mostly peacefully shoot an agent in the neck. Think about this. They are already at that point. That agent is not dead by the grace of God.
Amen.
Or that would be the first death. Tom Homan's right. There will be this type of outcome.
Yeah. Ann McAllen.
Hey, there you have it, you guys. Wow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as you saw the video footage of the attacks taking place, the ICE raids unfolded, and then we saw mobs of rioters attacking. And they're saying these are illegal immigrants throwing rocks. Now they're saying that there was an individual that was shooting at the ICE agents, and you can see them stopping the vans. And if you support the Trump administration, you support these raids taking place to get these illegal criminals out of our nation, illegal immigrants. They're saying they're targeting the most violent, the most heinous ones that have committed the worst crimes. They're trying to get them out and saying you should not be here illegally, and especially those that are posing a threat to the U.S. Again, if you support that, drop a 47 in the comments for support for the Trump administration and the work that they're doing. Now, if you don't, drop a 46 if you support the previous administration, which pretty much had open border policies. We're hearing that over the past 4 years, tons and tons of individuals have poured in, which is also why right now there's major concern about the sleeper cells they're saying are from Iranian proxy groups, terrorists that want to commit acts of crime against the United States, including acts of violence, cyber attacks, potential dirty bombs, nuclear suitcase bombs that are here in the U.S. They're saying that could be initiated with a conflict taking place in the Middle East. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, 46 or 47, and I'm seeing those 47s pouring in. Now, do me a favor, if you appreciate the breaking news updates, take a second, hit that like button. Subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free, and I'll keep you up to speed on everything. We're hearing there's been updates going on with Russia, Ukraine, Donald Trump. We're also hearing that there's a lot taking place in the Middle East. There are updates with the trade wars, China, tariffs, and also that big, beautiful bill passed, and there's a lot of tax incentives coming the way of the American people. I will keep you up to date on everything here on the channel. And again, I'll catch you in the next one. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.